Welcome at this new episode of the EPRID Webinar series on freedom of religion or belief. EPRID is an interfaith platform defending and promoting freedom of religion or belief, mainly focused at Brussels and European politics. My name is Arie de Pater. I'm the Brussels representative of the European Evangelical Alliance and one of the members of the Board of Coordinators of EPRID. In this webinar, we'll learn more about the work of Lian Gogali from Poso, Indonesia. And Lian, welcome here in this webinar. Lian is the recent recipient of the Four Freedoms Award, and we will learn more about her work on women, FOB, and peace in Indonesia. So welcome in this webinar, Lian. And for a more personal introduction of Lian, I'll give the floor to Stephanie Gilbert from Mensen met een Missie, or People with a Mission, one of the members of the EPRID platform. Welcome. Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Arie. And welcome, everyone. Special welcome to you, Lian. Great you can join us. I know these are your last few hours in the Netherlands and you're going to be leaving us tonight after a very busy 10 days with the award and all kinds of other meetings. So much appreciate you had some time on your last day to exchange and share your stories with us. I'll quickly introduce you so we have more time to engage with you. And I'll mention some things which are not, let's say, on your LinkedIn or on your CV directly. You come from Poso, from Central Sulawesi. Already in your family, you have an interreligious background with Muslim family. Your father being a cleric, Protestant cleric. From Poso, you went to study in Yogyakarta in Central Java, and in which you have a degree and a background in both theology and social sciences. For your research, you went back to Poso, and this was already when the conflicts and violence have erupted, and in which you looked more closely in your research at the economic and political interest involved in the Poso conflict. You'll share more about that. Also, you looked at specifically at the stories and voices of women and children and youth. Out of your research, you became active in Poso and started the women's school, which was joined by women from different religious backgrounds in a context when the conflict and the violence between different religious communities was still ongoing. Through time, and I won't say much more about it because you're going to share that, what started with women connecting, women became quite an important force for change in bridging the tensions between communities and also addressing important other problems and issues in Poso, which were also in a way underlying the conflicts, which has led also for your work and all the achievements together with people and women and religious leaders and youth of Poso has earned you the well-deserved Four Freedoms Award for freedom of worship, which brought you here. So before you share your story, a short film was made for the Four Freedoms Award on the situation of Poso and your work. We will start with that, and then it will be over to you. Yes, so welcome.
Without freedom of worship, we cannot have peace if we cannot find the truth. And there is no way to find the truth unless everyone has the freedom to worship and share their experience with their faith, culture, and rituals. If it all remains mysterious to the outsider, there will always be confusion and distrust. Without freedom of worship, Poso will be a place full of suspicion, confusion, and fear. Here you can find Protestant, Catholics, Muslims, Balinese, Hindus, and many indigenous religions, all living and having the figure out of modern society together. Starting in 1998, at the fall of our military dictatorship, the Poso region of Sulawesi Islands has seen multiple episodes of what many would call religious violence, including riots, massacres, shooting, beheadings, and terrorist attacks. Over the years, the shape and the scope of the violence has changed, but in the reality, it has never been religious violence. It has always been a manipulation by economic and political interests over land and power in an area that is immensely wealthy in natural resources, minerals, and hydropower. The people of Poso have greatly suffered and have lost many of their freedoms in the process. The moment I had to act was when, during the Poso conflict, I was taken one night by a group of Muslims who were suspicious I was pretending to be a Muslim. I thought the worst thing might happen, but instead the best thing did. We stayed up all night discussing each other religious and theologies and realizing that it was political and economic interest, not religious one, that caused the Poso conflict. So it was then I realized there was a huge space for religious dialogue and freedom to take place, but no one was brave enough to do it. Because I didn't have much at the time and I'm a disabled single mother, but I did have a front porch where I began to invite local women to gather and for the first time have a safe space to meet each other and freely communicate to understand each other's religions and tribes. I founded the Women's School as a meeting space between women of different religions. And I realized, as a new woman keeps showing up, that there was the massive untapped resource of the women in the village across Poso that could create a genuine and lasting peace process to not only healing from the wounds of the conflict, but to build a more just and sustainable peace so they cannot be divided again. The biggest challenge for me and for the Mosintuwu Institute is the large national and local political and economic interests that are determined to keep the people of Poso in fear, separate from each other with no real freedoms. I have seen women who survived conflict, had their houses burned down, watched their family member get murdered, who are now leaders of their community and promote peace and justice for all faiths. Women are the secret sauce of the society. Yes, we can change the world by empowering women. Women have always changed the world. We are just beginning to recognize their incredible accomplishment. From our homes, the market, the house of worship, the land, and everywhere in between, women bring change. Women bring peace. Women bring prosperity.
Well, I think that this video, this very inspiring video, already gave a great overview of your work, Lian, and a little bit of the context in Poso. But now over to you, Lian, to tell a little bit, to go more in depth on your very important work you do in Poso.
Thank you so much, Julia, Stephanie, and also Ari. And also thank you so much for EPRID to make this webinar and also to inviting me to tell about different stories in Poso that's never told before by the media, especially by mass media. So I will start with the stories when I start the women's school, or when I established the Mosintuwu Institute as my organizations. As Stephanie already told, that I went to the Yogyakarta as a student, and I decided to have two research. The first research is about the connection between the economic and politics interest with the conflict Poso. Why the research is, I think it's really needed, because as a people who was born and also live in Poso city, we are live with the Muslims and Christians community together, and we support each other. We even celebrate the holidays together, either like Christmas or Idul Fitri together, without hesitate about the other, or without suspicious on other religions. And in other side, the media cover the conflict in Poso as a religious conflict, and then it started with the fight between the young men from Muslims and from the Christians side. And then this fight, I don't really agree with the way how the media capture the way how the Poso conflict start, because I have been also in the research during my senior high school, when I did the research with the youth gang in Poso city, and to ask the question, what makes you fight each other? And the reasons why the youth fight each other is never about the religions. It's about the border between the one regions to other religions, including about the girls. So it's never been about the religions, the fight between the youths from different religious background. So like I think I talked during the time that the research about the connection between the political and economic interest in the conflict Poso is really needed to prove that this is not a religious conflict. This is the conflict that manipulates religions as a factor to mobilize people to fight each other. And during the research, actually, like I went to the one day when there is kind of, I can say, not an incident, but there is like something happened in the day when there's one guy from the Muslims who assists me, called that there's one group who would like to meet with me to know more about my research. So I expect that I can meet them to explain about the connection between the political and economic interests with the conflict Poso. But when I arrive in the building, in the house, in the room, I just realized that I just found like it's not about the research that they're curious about. It's about me who being in the rumor during the time that there is like a Christian woman who pretend to be a Muslims by using headscarf. So it's to be a spy. So then the Muslims movement could be like known by the Christians army during the time. So the first question is not about my research. It is about do I like spy during the time because my headscarf. So I'm starting to explain about the headscarf things. That's the headscarf. It's not only for the Muslims symbols, but it's a culture and social symbols for many reasons. And the other question is still not about the research. It's starting to ask questions about the religions, especially Christianity. They start to ask about the Jesus, about Muhammad, about the difference between the Quran and Bible, and including is the Christians has three gods or not, and then do you believe that Jesus is Son of God, and things like that. So many questions that it's confirmed to me that they are not interested in my research, but they want to confirm that I'm a spy, but also they want to confirm about their suspicious on the Christianity during the conflict. So of course, like I'm bit really afraid during the time, and I really realized that whatever my answer is becomes my life. Like what my answers, I bet my life depend on how I answer the questions, and that's the moment when I'm like think really like how I answer this one, not by ignore the faith, but also by exploring the many suspicions on different religions. And that's how like I asked them during the time, when I talk that I'm going to the rooms, then and I have these questions. Actually, in the rooms there is like many of Muslims. I recognize them as a local jihadists during the time, and all of them men who ask me this kind of questions. That's why my answer is like will be. Becomes my life. It's make my life is depend on whatever my answer is. So I'm starting to ask them to put a white paper in the wall, and then I start to explain about many things in their questions, like the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament, and how I understand the Muhammad and Jesus, and about the Rasuls, about the 12 followers of Jesus in the beginning, and how it's influenced and established the Christianity and things like that one. And there's a moment that we are keep talking about the questions still keep coming about the religions, about the Christianity and about the Muslims. And I think I'm lucky enough because I'm a theologian itself, so I know the answer, and then I know that's how I answer this one. So the conversation from 9 p.m. to the 3 a.m. It's a really long conversations. It's in the last 2 hours. We then like becomes a move from the conversation about the religions to the conversations about the way how we misunderstanding about each other religions, and this is give a opportunity for the politicians and for the economic person who interests in the manipulating religions to be a convict. So like I start to ask questions, not only them ask me questions, but I start to ask questions about our own experience before the conflict happens. How I mentioned them that I have a Muslim family, we celebrate holidays together, and we don't have any problem at all about their religion, and we respect each other. And how about them? Like, and they're starting to tell also about their experience. These men in the rooms start to explain again also about their experience, how the previous harmony relations between Muslim and Christian, and how they support each other. And then how it's and the conversation goes to the conversation about the how now when we have previous harmony, and now we become fight each other under the name of their religions. And I start to question them about their why they think they fight to the Christians and it's allowed in the Muslims religions. And they said that because they know that Christian will be, will take out all the Muslims in the city, so then the Christian can dominate the city or the governments. And I said, it's the same things happens in the Christians community, because we talk the Muslims will dominate all these government's position, also the land. So then the Christianity has no power and things like that one. So the things happen, and then a short story that I am still alive until now, of course, and they brought me alive in the house, and they even guarding me, because during the time there is still kidnapping, mysterious killing, and there's people can just like gone without no one know where, and then they guarding me to the house by safely. And that's how I realized that's the importance of the interfaith dialogue, because we suspicious each other, and our suspicion, it becomes like a potential risk for the people, for the other peoples to manipulate that one, so that it can bring to the conflict, like what happened in Poso. And also it comes into my mind that the dialogue between Muslim and Christians really needs to take place in the grassroots level, because we do have the peace table where involve the elites, religious leaders, but it's the result of these peace tables cannot reach the people in the grassroots level. So because the people in the grassroots level, either the Christian congregations or the Muslims, they are still believe and more listen to the local religious leaders who preach every Friday or Sunday. So I realized that we need to do the grassroots dialogues between the local religious leaders. But in the same times, I have not in the same times. In other years, so because my first research in 2002, and then I have another research about the women's. Why the second research about the women's is about the political remembering of women and children during the conflict, because we often only listen to the chronologies of the Christians killing Muslim and Muslim killing Christians and so on, but we never heard about the story of women. And that's how I start the research about the women in the refugee camp. I interview hundreds of the women and children, and I found out that the women is not only suffer from multi-layer of the violence, sexual abuse, rape, and domestic violence, and many things, but also they are the one who has the story how they help each other, how they protect the life during the conflict without hesitate, even though they are different religions. I found the stories how the one group of Christians women who protect the community of Muslims refugee in the forest when they almost suffer or hunger because of hunger, and they give them food, access for food. This story I got from the women Muslims who told me that she will not alive until now if she cannot get access for food during the time. And there is a woman in the Christians who she know very well from the market, who met in the forest when they are flee to the jungle, and then they give them food so they can still alive until now. There is also a story where two women, Muslims women, who protect and save the lives of three women, Christian women, who almost killed by the jihadists. By grab them, take them, put it in the mosque, and then say to the jihadists that this is our family, you cannot kill them because they are our family, and so on. There is also a story about there's one woman who going to the city, to the villages. She is a Christian woman who trying to save whole village and give them information that tomorrow you will be your house will be burned down and attacked by the Christians community. So you need to flee now. You need to go out now because otherwise you will be killed. So this kind of story, I can keep going on with many stories, but this is the story can show how women has an important role to keep alive during the conflict, but their voice is never heard and never even discussed. And their voice becomes like a silent voice, but also pressure their voice. And they even could not remember that they have these stories. I'm like in the situation when I realized that the women just following the common discourse or general discourse about the conflict Poso, that this is a religious conflict, and they forget about their own stories. They even forget about their own voice. So, I know that the education is really important for us for me myself in the beginning to fight for my rights and also to save my life for this first research. So I realized that it is really important to bring up the story of the women to become a first story to make people understand each other about the situations they have. So that's how we start the women's school. I start with 7 women, and it's 7 women from different religions, and they are, of course, hate each other because they only know about the killing and the murder and things like that, and they all suffer because of the conflict. But the women themselves, when they already start the meeting, it's already a good sign that they want to meet. So we only need to open space for them, so then they can express even first the anger, the trauma, the suspicious, and things like that. Put it together. The Muslims telling a story about we hate Christians. We want to revenge about because Christians kill my husband and things like that. In other side, the Christians also say the same things. We hate Muslims, the Muslims killing my son and things like that one. We hate you and things. Everyone's in the hate levels and would like to revenge on that style. But when everyone's telling the story and understand that, so how we do live with all of this story, past story, and then we still keep doing this one and realize that we are all, the Muslims community now realize that the Christians also suffer, and the Christians also realize the Muslims also suffer. No one is a winner during the conflict. We are all victims, and we are experience same things, and we need to put this in the table, so then we can reimagine about the future. So that's how it's happened. The women, of course, in the first class, in the second class, is just express the anger. But after that, they all agree that we are all victims. So if we are all victims and we still want to continue our life, how are we doing so? So they bringing their story about how they protect each other. I use also the story how the women protect each other to put it in the table that there are possibility, that we are not talking about the religious here. We are talking about human beings who protect their life to be safe and keep continue. And that's how the women can keep going together, but also reimagining their future together post the conflict. So after the understanding, so this is happens in Poso, and then now when I said that I start with 7 women, now we have 523 women who now join together to not only to healing their wounds because of the conflict, but also to design what kind of future they want for them, but also for the generations. So that's how we what we talk in the women's school, that we need first to dismantling the trauma, dispelling the suspicion. But after that, we make a networking to work together, and the way how we work together is we doing in the village level, now we have the women's school, but now we develop another school, what we call as village reform school, where the women now is working together with the local government to design about what kind of development and what kind of village they want to be for the peace and just situation and sustainable in the Poso in Poso area. But in other sides, it's we think that the woman's story still needs to be a good story from Poso, because the way how Poso is captured until now is only about the religious conflict. So we want to bring this story of the women because they work so hard, not only during the conflict, but also post the conflict. There is one incident that's almost happened, and it's performed by the women in 2016. There is a village dominated by Christians, is 99% is Christians. It's called Bukit Bambu, and there's other villages next to each other, their neighbor, called Sayo. 99% is Muslims. There's a rumors that the Muslims community will attack these Bukit Bambu villages, and there is the community in Bukit Bambu already prepare a weapon to fight. They are ready to fight because they experienced from the last conflict. And the women's school, Ibu Martinche during the time call the women in the village, and they said, this is happened. Is this true? Like what you are doing there, and things like that one. And the Ibu Yanti from the Muslims woman said, no, we are not. We don't do anything here. We don't attack your community. But the woman said that you need to come to my community to explain this one, so we can like feel good together. And then that's how it's happened. The Muslims women come to the Christians community to explain that there is no attack. We are doing well. We need to like more positive to work together in different ways. So that is happens, but now it's grow from the interfaith dialogue. We becomes like a more focus on the development, peace and just development, because we know that our regions now is exploited the natural resources and still using religions as a tools to mobilize people. We are really rich with natural resources now, and there is an investor who exploited the natural resources, and sometimes using the ex-combatant Muslims and ex-combatant Christians to mobilize people so they cannot unite to fight against the natural resources. And that's how like now we are involved in the another school, what we call as a school of diversity, because school of diversity consists of the local religious leaders who come together to have a discussions and also to talk about the role of the religions in the environment issue, in the poverty, in the suffering, in the diversity, and in the justice issue in the region. So then the religions know very well, not only that they aware that the religions could be manipulated, but also they aware how the religions could also involve in this issue. So it will be like more just and peace sustainable. So I think I will stop. I hope I'm good with my introduction, and then I will really happy to listen more. I would like to say that women's roles in the religion side is really important, because they are not only bring this experience between the Muslim and Christians, but also they become a messenger for other religions. Like if the Muslims, if the neighborhood asks about the Christianity in the wrong way, so the Muslim actually, the women from the women's school will explain better that no, it's not like that one. That's also opposite happen when there is like a Muslims, there's a Christian said that is it Muslims all of the Muslims is jihad, and the Christian is the one who like explain, no, this is not, this is about the opnum and things like that one. And in other side, I really want to say that we do have the peace table on the government, which is more political pressure, and but it's not reached the grassroots, and it's now using to support the economic and political interests. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward for the conversation.
Well, many thanks, Lian, for this powerful and inspiring story. It's still very inspiring to hear actually how you with other women are creating a space where women of different religions can, well, not only heal their wounds, but also connect and bridge their differences through what you say is an interfaith dialogue, and then also become a force of change in their own communities and villages in Poso. I think right now I want to also give the floor to the attendees who are here and who must also have questions for Lian. You can do that by raising your hand. Then I can give you the floor. You can ask your question to Lian, or you can also put your question in the Q&A, and Selma, our colleague, will monitor the questions, and then I can also give you the floor. So I already see one hand up. Ruti, maybe it could also help if, when you speak, if you can present yourself shortly and also say from which organization you are, so that gives also a little bit of context to Lian. So I will allow you to talk. I think right now you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Hello? Yes, thank you. Jagruti, can you hear us? Okay. Well, maybe until you maybe can speak, maybe Ari, presenting EPRID, can also ask a first question to Lian.
Yeah, thank you, Julia. That would be my pleasure. It was really a joy to listen to your story, Lian. Thank you for your testimony, or for your sharing your stories about your work in Indonesia. That was really inspiring. And for me, it's also a good illustration of how important freedom of religion or belief is in a society, because I think without FORB, it wouldn't be possible to even start these talks or to start these conversations among women. But as EPRID, a few months ago, we also had a seminar, a webinar about the role of women and FORB, and how, well, the kind of what we call, I think, the double vulnerability of women in a society that is dominated by one religion or the other. But I was just, well, it's great to hear how many women you have inspired to well, kind of get even with the past and reconcile, and then look forward to a joint future. Can you share a little bit more about how this is also impacting the society more in general? So is it impacting the men as well? And would it have been possible to have a similar initiative among men, or are they more kind of deeper into that, still the fighting mode, or yeah? Can you share a little bit more about that and your experience with the impact, the wider impact of the work you do?
Should I answer directly?
Yes, you can.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Ari, for your questions. Well, from many women who work with us, of course, each of them is in the beginnings. They are passing the problem of their revenge or the trauma or the suspicious, which is give them an opportunity and a space also to talk differently about other religions. And that's how it's happened start from the household. So we are trust that if we give educations, I will say like this one. Usually the women in our society, especially in the patriarchal society, has no chance of critical education, including about religions. They only listen about the religions in the perspective of the cleric or imam, and in the certain issue. They have no chance to develop or growing their imaginations, or also their way of thinking about other religions because of these systems. So the women's schools make this space. So to them to not only not only understand but also to become more like a messengers for others religious. So for example, in the one of the curriculum that we have also already have in the women's school is like when the women visit each other religions, the Muslims women visit church and temple, and Christians women visit mosque and temple, and also so many different things. And they can ask questions they are really curious about. Like the Christians can ask about jihadists, and then why men in Muslims cannot shake hand if there's no their wife, like for that kind of a question. Or the Muslims usually ask about Christians has a three gods, or what is the role of Maria? So many of these kind of questions is, I think, describe really well about how we are think about other religions. And this is also happens in the household where the woman can teach or can also explain this to their children or to the neighbor and so on. So when they get all this information correct from the first source, like they can get information about the halal and haram, about jihadists, about Jesus, about Christianity, about Holy Spirit and things like that one from the source, which is they never have chance for that. So it's already becomes like another level that they have chance to also tell another story, another perspective, different perspective on the religions to their children. Start from the neighborhood. Start from the family and the neighborhood. And that also happens when there's a rumors, yeah. So in Poso, actually, when we don't have the internet during the time, not massive internet, when you tell about that how to make war in Poso, in Poso we say that many people said that it's not need many people or no need many money to make war in Poso. It only needs 50 cents of euro. Yeah, 50 or even 1 cent of euro. Why? Because everyone can text message to the Muslims community about Christians community in the worst way and opposite. And the opposite side, and then this is become really sensitive, and people become like mobilize themselves to attack each other, and this is how it's happened. But through the women's school, after they have this understanding and they understand about the other religions, they have a chance to clarify, they have a chance to confirm, and also have to can have the opportunity to prevent the conflict. And to protect their family from enjoying the conflict. That's how it can impact the society in terms of the conflict. But in terms of the others things, especially about participation of the women, about the decision making, I can say that there is an event, because we still have military operations now in Poso. In 2016, there is a military operation that caused 4 until 6 villages in hunger, because they cannot go to the mountain or to their land to managing their land for food. And so the villages is in hunger. And the women make a move during the time, because for many months their hunger, and most of them is Muslims. So the Christians women is organized food, organized donations, and bring to the Muslims community. And so that's this is not about their religions. This is about political and economic interests, and that we are support you to facing all of this, and we are together with you. You are not alone. That's we are with you. That is also happen when there is like a terrorist attack in the town, and then the women needs to campaign that this is not about the religious conflict. So they are starting to organize themselves to have a peace protest. And I really remember because I'm part of this peace protest. And then I asked them, I have a dialogue with them. And the terrorist attack is only 250 meters from our peace protest. And I asked them, should we get down now, or should we stop this peace protest? And the woman said, no. We need to continue because otherwise people believe this is because of the Muslim and Christians. Now we need to campaign that this is not about that we are Muslims and Christians, women now stand up together and say this is not about us. This is we are live together and we support each other. So there are so many things that women not only prevent the conflict, but also to start to ask people to reimagine the future of people in Poso, which can stay together. And I could say that's actually conflict is not only make people lose their life, but make people lost their identity, their culture. Yeah, that's how we think that the women starting to work together to get back the identity that they join together. If we talk about the peace building process in Poso, actually we have our own word on peace building. It's not the theoretical things, but we have what we call as Mosintuwu. And now the women in Poso now working together to implementing the Mosintuwu by working together not only in the religious side but also in the economic side. So the women is also now open the market. The first person who opened the market during the conflict is the woman, and the markets becomes the space for the many people to start the dialogue, to start the conversations. There is an during the conflict, even fish has a religions. Fruits has a religions, like tomato has a religion of Christianity, fish is a Muslims religions, and things like that. Why? Because most in the coastal area of the Poso is a Muslims, they're fishermen, and in the mountain is the Christians, or they are farmer, so they connected with the vegetables as a religions, things like that. But when a woman opens the markets, there's no religions in the food. Like you just need some food to make you keep alive. That's how also the space they're creating by the women. And so the market is not only have the economic growth or start to start the economic after the conflict, but also it's become the space to have this kind of feeling that we start our life now, like this one. So I hope that's one, but now it's become more bigger, the impact, because the women is now working together not only in the terms of the prevent the conflict, but for the economic and political intentions, because now they are more. Sorry, I forget to explain that most of the women who join with the women's school is they are graduate from junior high school, senior high school. Some of them even not graduate from elementary school. So they are really grassroots women who learn a lot about how to fight for their own rights, but also to protect the community. And 200 of them from 523, 200 of them becomes a leader of the community. Many of them becomes not many, but it's 5 of them becomes the head village. And then some of them becomes the protection or advocate for the case of the domestic violence and sexual abuse. Some of them is also even a fight for the rights of the people related with the rights in the village and things like that one. So there we actually move from the conversation not only about the religions, but about how we as a faith actor could also contribute in the development post the conflict. I hope I can answer your question, Ari.
Yeah, thank you. For me, it's great and really encouraging to hear how we slowly but but surely the impact of the training that you provided is kind of trickling down in society, and how others are, how that is changing the society from within. So thank you. We have about 5 minutes left, so if there's any in the audience who still wants to ask a question, either in the Q&A or just by sharing your question with us, audible, that would be great. So you're really welcome to join us in the conversation. And I shared a link to the recording of our webinar on Women and FORB in the chat. So if you're interested in more about the role of women and FORB, you can check that recording there as well.
Yeah, I actually have one more short question to you, Lian. Maybe you can, because since we still have 5 minutes, you can answer it shortly. As of course, this is also a platform of European civil society organizations, and also maybe some people from the government or from the European Union are here. If you look at your own work, what would you say to them? How could they help you in supporting the local work in Indonesia? Because you also mentioned, for example, the National Peace Table. Are women actually part of this? And how can the various organizations support you in that? Maybe you can answer that quickly.
Yes, thank you, Julia. Actually, a Poso case and conflict is only one example in many different kind of conflict in Indonesia, which is all related with the natural resources. So, but some of them is using identity, including religions, to manipulate people so they cannot fight their own rights. So, like what comes up in my mind based on our experience, the importance of the local religious leaders, and to also involve in many different issue related with the FORB, for example. And in this case, it will be really recommended if we, in Indonesia context, for example, or in other contexts, there will be like a regional consultations to become more deep on the local experience and how the locals respond on that, and how we can all connect each other and to support each other. So the local regional consultations, I think this becomes like a practical work of the group who can involve, because most of the seminars or the consultation usually happens with the elites side. So I think it's also good if we have the local regional consultation involves the practical work of group in this local regional consultation. And of course, now we are working together with GISRA in support of Mensen of Misi, preparing the SEDO report on FORB, in UPR's SEDO report on FORB, and it will be really really great if we can also have this like a pre meeting on reporting on, or also to discuss about what happens in the FORB in context of Indonesia, because we already have this SEDO report that you can read together and to make this happening together. And of course, as I told, that the grassroots work, grassroots communities really have a roles on the many different peace process. So it will be really good to have a work visit from EU, from many departments to take a look in deep in the grassroots work, so then you can have an imagination how it's the FORB really happening in a grassroots level, and how the people also can work on certain issue, so then we can support each other. So it's not only in the policy. So I imagine that if the working groups, working visit is happening, so we can also not only make the theory of the FORP in the nice and elite levels becomes more practical. There's many some of the suggestions that maybe becomes one of our collaboration to make it more practical, but also to make it more impactful in the community.
More tangible. Yeah,
more tangible.
Thank you, Lian. I see that Ruti, would you like to try again to ask your question as a last question? Let me see. Right now you can unmute yourself and you can ask the question. We cannot hear you. Yeah. Yeah, I think now we can.
Well, I'm really sorry this isn't working. Sorry, Gruti. It would have been my pleasure to give you the floor, but apparently that isn't possible. Well, it's 3 o'clock, so we came to the end of our webinar. Lian, thank you very much for your encouraging and inspiring message. It was great to have you, and also good to hear that you are also involved at UN level, working with the Universal Periodic Review on FORP and Indonesia. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about that. And if you're ever back to share more about that, you would be more than welcome to join us for another episode. But also I want to thank you to Mensman and Missy, who made this webinar possible. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Stephanie and Selma. Thank you. It's good to work with you. And also a warm thank you to all the participants. Thank you for joining us today. We will make a recording of this webinar available on our YouTube channel and on our website, and hope to see you in the next episode. Thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.